that update. Viewers, for now, we proceed to news coming in over the Iran war. Iran has now set up a new mechanism to manage the transit of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has warned that U.S. Navy to stay out of the Strait of Hormuz and that commercial vessels will need to coordinate any passage with its military. It also issued a new map of the strait with an expanded Iranian area of control. Let's go across to Aditya Wadhwan, my colleague, who's bringing us some more updates on that. Aditya, what is it that you have?
If you see, Iran has escalated its control over the Strait of Hormuz by implementing a new maritime governance mechanism. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps now requires vessels passing through the vital checkpoints to obtain a transit permit and comply with new safety arrangements. New key developments that have happened in this regard are like new Persian Gulf Strait Authority (PGSA). Iran is implementing a 12-point plan requiring ships to receive electronic instructions from this new body and follow designated safe corridor routes. Permit systems /tolls. Ships from deemed hostile countries or linked to Israel face transit bans or must pay fees, with some reports suggesting tolls have been paid for the safe passage. IRGC area of control. The IRGC released a map outlining a new 2,000-kilometer zone of control stretching from the southern Iranian coast to the UAE coast, warning that violators face serious risks. Conflict escalation following a month-long blockade. The U.S. launched a paused Project Freedom naval mission to challenge the Iranian measures. So completely, at this juncture, Iran is like, imposing, its own conditions for the maritime global trade to, begin from this important global trade checkpoint known as the Strait of Hormuz. So indeed, it needs to be seen, whether this issue further becomes a main reason for the escalation in the Middle East. This needs to be seen. Kriti, back to you.
Right, stay on with me, Aditya. In fact, after Iran set up new mechanism to manage vessels through the Hormuz Strait, Trump has decided to pause Project Freedom. He cited a request from Pakistan and progress in negotiations towards a final peace deal with Iran. Aditya, as far as the peace talks are concerned, what progress has been made? Because Trump is indicating that negotiations are going in the right direction.
Kriti, if you are to believe, the other version, as per some reports, if diplomacy, diplomacy doesn't work with Iran, then he might restart the war by this week, and definitely, President Trump is considering several options. On one hand, he says that that the Iranian Navy has been completely destroyed, and on the other hand, he still says that we are talking to the Iranians and there is a possibility of some sort of deal. So at this juncture, if you see, the pressure tactic by the U.S. is being deployed on Iran, because still the U.S. naval blockade is very much in place. And, as per, yesterday, a majestic ship was escorted by the U.S. Navy through the Strait of Hormuz very, very safely. So indeed, at this juncture, it needs to be seen whether this deadlock ends and there is some sort of deal between Iran and US, or will again the hostilities in the Middle East are expected to start again. This needs to be seen. Kriti.
Right. Aditya, thank you very much for joining us and sharing those updates with us, because that's the latest coming in from the US-Iran war. We'll continue to track all those developments. For now, it's time for a very quick commercial break, but we'll be right back. You didn't go too far.